Hello, and welcome to another Marvel Snap video. Today we're going to be exploring the discard archetype of Pool 1, focused around Apocalypse. When you discard this card from your hand, put it back with +4 power. It only takes one discard trigger to get it up to 12 power, matching the Hulk, and if you manage to discard it 2 additional times, you can get all the way up to 20, which is just massive. First card in the deck is Ant-Man, just an efficient 1-cost card to help us win a lane that we're not going to put the Apocalypse into. Next up we have Elektra, good disruption, can destroy a key card of your opponent's or surprise win a location they think they're winning. Then we have Iron Fist, just a really flexible 1-cost card that I'm really starting to enjoy in Pool 1. I didn't play it much when I was in Pool 1 during the beta, but that was a missed opportunity. There's so many little maneuvers you can make with this card, and when you're playing Angela, it's a perfect addition. Then we have Korg, another disruption component. Putting that rock into your opponent's deck is not always visible, the impact it's having, but losing one draw in these games when they're so tight, it can be a huge impact. Next up we have Nightcrawler. Just a great 1-cost card with a lot of utility since we can move it where we need to. And lastly we have Blade, a 1-cost 3-power card. On reveal, discard a card from your hand, normally a drawback, which is why he's got a bit more power than the average 1-cost card, but we are actually able to turn that into an upside. The reason we're playing so many 1-cost cards is in order to consistently discard the Apocalypse, we want to make sure that Apocalypse is the only card in our hand, and so the 1-cost cards let us empty our hand consistently. In the 2-cost slot, we have Angela, just a fantastic 2-cost card that can get very large, and with all of our 1-cost cards, we can buffer up very easily. We then have Lady Sif, the most consistent of our discard effects. On reveal, discard the highest cost from your hand. This will always be the Apocalypse if Apocalypse is in hand and guarantees a trigger in the earlier turns. Then we have Swordmaster. On reveal, discard a card from your hand. Again, normally a downside, which is why we get 6 power just for 3 energy, and since we can turn it into an upside, this card is fantastic for us. Then we have Khazar, just a great inclusion because we're already running a whole bunch of 1-cost cards. The key card Apocalypse, hopefully we can get him pretty big today. And then lastly, America Chavez. You always draw this card on turn 6 and not before, and that not before is the key component. This adds a lot of consistency to the deck, because for the first 5 turns you are operating on an 11-card deck, not a 12-card deck, which helps us have our Apocalypse in hand more often to trigger our discard effects. Also, if you don't draw the Apocalypse, you'd prefer to not draw it on turn 6, since then it'll only be 8 power, so Chavez ends up being an alright turn 6 play. But if you do have the Apocalypse in hand, since it costs 6 energy, you weren't going to be playing whatever card you drew anyways, so it doesn't matter that we're drawing a card we can't play. In a future video, I intend to do a deep dive on America Chavez and some of the math behind the card, so keep an eye out for that. The general strategy for the deck is to spread a bunch of cards in the locations early, and you're going to want to hold the Swordmaster and the Blade for turn 5 once you've emptied all of your other cards and have them both hit the Apocalypse. If you've already got a couple Pool 2 cards, some upgrades you can make to this deck is Morbius, who gains +2 power for each card you've discarded this game, and it keeps track even if you don't have the Morbius in play, which can get pretty good value for a 2-cost card. There's also Swarm, a 2-energy, 3-power card that says if you discard this from your hand, put 2 copies into your hand that cost 0, and actually allow you to push additional power on turn 6 when you play the Apocalypse. With that, let's hop into some games. First location is Avengers Compound, and we do have the Apocalypse in hand. Let's start with the Korg, get that rock into the opponent's deck as soon as possible. We have Swordmaster to discard the Apocalypse, so we're going to want to make sure we get our hand pretty small. And there's the Khazar to pair with it. We'll put Nightcrawler in the vault for now. We'll be able to move him out if we need to. They play Nuadu, which doesn't have much of an impact. Ooh, and Superflow gives us an extra energy to work with, so we're going to be able to play the Khazar right now. Next turn we can play Lady Sif and something else. The Mr. Fantastic gives them a bit of a power spread. So we can lead with the Lady Sif. She's guaranteed to discard Apocalypse. And then we have our 4-cost card and our 3-cost card in hand. So we know we're drawing a 1 or a 2-cost card, so we'll be able to play all 3 cards in our hand next turn, thanks to the energy from Superflow. So we can hold off on playing the Ant-Man for right now.
I am Iron Man.
Okay, so the Iron Man's gonna make us want to stay out of the Avengers compound. But we now have a 12 power Apocalypse. We even get the Blade. So we're gonna have a massive Apocalypse. This is the last turn cards can be played to the vault. Oh, right. The Avengers compound means we have to play here this turn. But we're gonna have a massive Apocalypse for the last turn, and neither of us are gonna be able to play additional cards to the vault. So let's just stack our cards. We'll be unlikely to come up over the Ant-Man, but we'll win the Vault and the Superflow. This Apocalypse is going to get huge. Yeah, they play an Onslaught, so they win the Avengers compound by quite a lot. But we're going to have a 20 power Apocalypse. Makes the Hulk look small. I suppose if they play Claw to Avengers compound, there's a chance that we lose. And we draw the Chavez, but we want to play the Apocalypse. Claw is the only card we can lose to, so I'm feeling pretty confident. And they just retreat. What a beastly Apocalypse. 20 power for a single card. Let's hop into another one. First location is Monster Metropolis, which will buff up our highest cost card. Might be a good spot for our Apocalypse, or if we don't draw it, our America Chavez. For now, we'll lead with the Nightcrawler. We have 2 of our discard effects in hand, so hopefully we can find the Apocalypse. Okay, the Bifrost is going to shift everything over, so we'll have to keep that in mind. For now, we'll play the Ant-Man to Monster Metropolis. And the real Bob Farm gets in the way. We'll hold on to the Blade since we don't want to discard any of these cards. Okay, so they play an Angela. So we're not able to play large cards to here. We don't want to discard any of our cards right now. So we're going to hold, but this is going to be a pretty weak turn for us. We'll have some cheap cards that we can throw into the big house that have decent stat lines, and the Swordmaster and Lady Sif alone on turn 6 might be enough. So they play a Korg, putting us further away from our Apocalypse, and an Electra to destroy one of our 1-cost cards. So goodbye, Nightcrawler. Oh, and we have the Apocalypse now. So let's play the Lady Sif. We don't want to compete against the Angela, which is going to get shifted over into the Bifrost. So we'll play Lady Sif to the Bifrost and shift her over to the big house. Next turn, we'll be able to play Swordmaster Blade, and hopefully we draw another 1-cost card rather than the Angela. Or the Rock. So there's 2 bad hits and 4 good hits, so odds are in our favor to draw some extra power next turn. So they play a Nightcrawler, and their Angela is absolutely massive now. We do draw the Angela, which is rather unfortunate. We're only going to be able to play 2 of our cards here. Let's hope we get a little lucky with some of the Apocalypse triggers. But at 12 power, he should be big enough to get the Monster Metropolis bonus already. And if we can get 1 more discard on him, we'll be in a good position. And 13 power in the big house will be pretty good for us since they can't play large cards there. So they go with a blue marble. And we do get the Apocalypse discard. It's a shame we don't have our Nightcrawler still, just to push a little bit more power. But even if they put 4 2-power 1-cost cards here, we should be able to come up over them. So we'll stick in for the 4 cubes. There's a chance we lose here, depending on what's in their hand. But since they can't play a large card to here, we have pretty good odds. We could have played the Apocalypse to the Bifrost to win as is, but the Nightcrawler can move out, and there still could be a Khazar in our future. So we'll take the chance on Monster Metropolis here and hope they can't match us in the big house. And they retreat because they know they can't beat the Apocalypse. So we'll take those 2 cubes. On to the next one. First location is Jotunheim. We're not going to want to commit cards there. Don't want to be losing the 1 power. I'd like to get the Rock into their deck sooner than later, but we want the Angela buffs if possible. And we don't know what these locations are going to end up being. Let's hold for a bit. We'll be able to play all 3 of these cards on the following turn after the Angela. We get the Apocalypse, so now we're just looking for some of our discard effects. Apocalypse will be a great finisher into Jotunheim. So we definitely don't want to play right anytime soon. Let's get that Korg in and play the Nightcrawler. We can hold for now. We'll be able to pair these 1-cost cards with one of our discard effects. So they have an Iron Fist and a Multiple Man. But they still played a card here, so they're getting 3 rocks. Okay, we have the Swordmaster. If we draw Blade we'll be able to play both discard effects. If we draw Lady Sif, we won't be able to play both of them anyways, so let's hold the Electra for now. Avoid any rocks and give us higher odds of drawing our blade. We have a 20% chance. Okay, so they fuse a Hulkbuster with their multiple man. We do get the blade. So we could see a Heimdall, which would push the multiple man over here and leave 7 power here, and there'll be 8 from the Heimdall. They could also play Doctor Strange to pull the multiple man over. I think if we stack some power here, we'll be able to get up over the multiple man and the Heimdall. And we'll take out the Iron Fist and get a buff on our Electra here. Let's push a little bit more power here. We'll have a 16 power Apocalypse, 8 power from here. Yeah, we'll just play like this. Make sure that we're also winning Washington, D.C. And depending on how much power they can push over to Jotunheim, we can play the Apocalypse over there instead. So they do have the Doctor Strange to pull over the multiple man. And they have a Lizard. So if they play Heimdall, we'll win Washington, D.C. still. Heimdall will add 8 power here. But we have 16. So we should have them beat here. We'll just give up Jotunheim. They'll have 15 power they can push over there. They'll lose 4 on all of it. Yeah, this should be safe. And we expect the Heimdall. Yeah, but that is not enough. Oh wait, they get all the multiple mans. Yeah, actually, darn. Apocalypse to Jotunheim was the play. That was a big mistake on our part. We had a win condition. We even identified it. We just made the wrong choice there. Really close game and a really cool showing for the movement deck. Had we just played Apocalypse to Jotunheim, we had that. So looking back on that last game, the actual win condition was play Swordmaster into Washington, D.C., knowing that that was a lane we needed to win. That would have been 3 extra power over the blade, and we could have won that game. It's important to reflect on losses and see where you could have improved to make sure you're playing to the best of your ability. If you have any questions or feedback for me, make sure to leave those in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to respond to you. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.